Shit begins. Get out of your fucking room. Okay, Batman or Robin? Has to be Batsy, I think.
Okay, in 3, 2, 1, I'm going to play Diesel versus Bret the Hitman Hart from the Survivor Series 995. It's the UK Silver Vision DVD edition. So let's get on with it, eh? In 3, 2, 1. I've just pressed X on my PlayStation 2 controller and we're getting the entrance of one Bret the Hitman Hart, whom I believe this was one of the greatest professional wrestling matches ever. Survivor Series 995 in general, I believe, was one of the best pay-per-views ever. I remember watching this when it first came out. I was nearly 8 at the time. My birthday's in November. I was actually born in the first ever Survivor Series. So I've always had a soft spot for the Survivor Series, not just because I was born on it, but I feel like the Survivor Series concept is a lot of fun. And when booked right, the show can be great and one of the best pay-per-views of the WWE calendar. I don't think it should ever be replaced. Bret Hart was going for his third rather, WWF title. Got my cup of tea, my little Batman mug. 995 in general was quite the year. I always say the three film franchises I'm most loyal to is Batman, Halloween, and James Bond. All franchises would have a release that year, and Rangers were doing well as Diesel is making his entrance, and there's a blonde-haired woman in the crowd, holding up something to do, a sign for Diesel. I'm not sure, was that his girlfriend at the time, or because I know sometimes WWF would do that. Like there's this woman in the crowd at WrestleMania 8 during Shawn Michaels' entrance, and very very good looking woman. And then years and years later, I found out that was actually Shawn Michaels' girlfriend in the crowd. So I wonder if that one woman's Diesel's partner. This would be Diesel's last run as not only WWF champion, but also his last run as a face in the WWF, as he would turn a bit nasty at the end here. This was the third of 3 classic Bret Hart Diesel matches. I've yet to see their cage match from 1996, In Your House 6. I've not heard some good things about it, but I did remember watching their 1994 King of the Ring encounter when it came out. Same with the Royal Rumble 1995 one. I was backing Bret here. Really wanted him to win. Al Hebner's your referee. As Bret raises his eyebrows while looking at the belt. What a drastic change Survivor Series would be for Bret in a couple of years' time with Al Hebner. Whom would have ever thought that in 2 years' time Bret would get screwed by Vince and be out of the WWF for a very long time, after being such a huge part of it for many years and very loyal. This is a no disqualification match, as both men are taking off the turnbuckle pads. Bret Hart's having a hell of a time taking off the turnbuckle pad himself. Diesel just manhandled it off. say what you like about Kevin Nash and his in-ring work, he had some major 5-star matches with Bret Hart. Bret Hart really took wrestling seriously, and as I sip my tea here, I think that's great, a great way to go about it. Everything he did, he always says in the shoot interviews, he'd go into it like, how would he take down Diesel? As he grabbles him into the corner. I haven't watched this match all the way through for a long time. There's a very famous table spot at the end, or near the end, and it's, memorable for that reason. Because before now, table spots, especially in the World Wrestling Federation, never did happen. So when that happened, that was a genuine shocking moment. Now this whole Survivor Series card was great, I thought. The traditional Survivor Series matchups were solid, memorable. The wild card edition, where there was a mix of heels and faces on both teams rather, involving Shawn Michaels, Psycho Sid, and others. It was all great stuff. Then the other Survivor Series traditional elimination match that featured the return of The Undertaker, whom had been injured. It was very memorable. Watching him come back, he looked pretty terrifying, and he cleaned house. In that match actually was whom would go on to be Kane. Isaac Yankem, DDS, as he was known as back then, as Bret Hart's dropped head first into a railing. Two competitors are battling outside. What I loved about these matches, this match was a face-and-face, as was their Rumble 95 encounter. Their 994 King of the Ring encounter, Diesel was still a heel. But what I loved about these matches is you just did not know whom was going to win. Their 995 match was interrupted by Shawn Michaels, Bob Backlund, and Owen Hart. So we never got a proper finish. Hence why this one is a no disqualification matchup. I remember watching the 995 Royal Rumble Bret Hart Diesel match with my friend at the time. We really both loved it. Thought it was great. So 995, looking back, was a rather favourable year, even though I wasn't a Halloween fan or Bond fan at the time. I was a bit too young for Halloween. Had no interest in James Bond back then. That would change a few years later. But if I were to go back to 995, it would have been quite the year to go through, as there was Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, the last Halloween to feature the late great Donald Pleasance, whom passed away in February of that year, as Bret Hart gets a right hand in the face and is knocked to the outside. In these videos, I don't just commentate on what's going on in the match. I'll speak about whatever comes into my mind and talk about the year, this year, just whatever really. But you can treat this as a watch along too, as Bret Hart's thrown into the ring steps. I have not watched this in a long time, so obviously I know who wins and how it happens, but I've really forgotten a lot about this match. I remember Bret Hart used to always focus on Diesel's legs, getting them injured and ready for the sharpshooter finish. Everything he did would make a lot of sense. Now, 995 is looked upon as maybe, I believe it was the worst financial year for the WWF and a bad year for wrestling in general, as Kevin Nash smacks a padded chair across the back of Bret Hart. Those type of chairs just didn't do anything for me. It always looked, had a pad, it didn't look like it would hurt at all. Even if it was being swung by a 7-foot tall Kevin Nash. A little bit of trivia for you. Or should I? I'm not even sure if I can mention. Actually, forget that trivia because of all this. Well, then again, I'm talking about wrestling. Yeah, I'm rambling on here. Just what a mess things are online at the moment. You're scared. Can I talk about this? If I talk about this or that, will that be then deemed, for a specific audience or not? I'm definitely taking a break following this month, this year, this decade, and I'm going to take my time with the first 2020 PMDB video as Kevin Nash is in control of this match, and it looks like he's going to go for the jackknife already as he picks Bret up. Yeah, he's going for it, but Bret Hart's latching onto his right leg here. He's got his feet on the rope. So yeah, film franchise wise, there was the new James Bond was back. He had been absent from the big screen since License to Kill, a very underrated James Bond entry. Speaking of Bond, I had to unsubscribe from a rather big-ish YouTube channel. And I usually liked them, but their opinion on James Bond, I don't like. They really talk about James Bond franchise like the Daniel Craig era is the only one that exists, which bothers me tremendously, and always take shots at Roger Moore as Bret Hart's really laying into Kevin Nash's right knee. But I guess I got triggered today and had to unsubscribe. I'll look at them again when they review Halloween Kills next year. But I've had enough of Roger Moore is my personal favourite Bond, so I get really defensive of him. And they bashed Octopussy, which to me is way better than most of Daniel Craig's Bond films, but each to their own. I'm all for freedom of speech, freedom of expression. I'm all for keeping that afloat, but it doesn't mean I've got to watch them still, so yeah. I'm not actually subscribed to many people on here compared to others. Like I've mentioned that I never watch the drama channels, which is true. Also, if you don't entertain me, I don't care if we're friends or not. Like I just don't stick around if I'm not entertained. It's simple. And I'd like people to be the same way with me. If I'm boring you, please go. I'd hate someone just being on my channel because they're my friend or whatever. No. As Bret Hart locks in a figure 4 leg lock from the page of Ric Flair, and Kevin Nash is really selling it. This figure 4 leg lock never ever worked for anybody. I can't remember many times it worked for Ric Flair. As Kevin Nash, this doesn't make a lot of sense. This is no disqualifications, but for some reason, if you reach the ropes, the hold's got to be broken, but there's no disqualifications. Wrestling and logic don't really go together, but whatever. I guess that would have been a short match. Kevin Nash would have had to give up to the figure four leg lock there, and that would have been the end of the Survivor Series. New champion Bret Hart. And we wouldn't have got a table bump or anything. What was PMDB doing in 1995? Well, I was unemployed again, just like I was unemployed when I was talking about the 1992 Royal Rumble, the 1993 Royal Rumble, the casket match between The Undertaker and Yokozuna. I was unemployed once again in 1995, but I was only 7'8". During this, as Bret Hart tries to lock in a sharpshooter, now gets a poking eye by Kevin Nash. Another poking eye. I would have been in primary 4. Not the most memorable year at school, although I made a video today talking about my history of mental health and how my depression and mental health problems started at secondary. Actually, well, compared to secondary, primary felt a breeze, as Kevin Nash is really laying into the back of Bret Hart's neck, but not for long. Bret Hart escapes the ring and is now doing some damage to Kevin Nash's right leg here. I'm not sure if he's going to do that figure. No, he's not. Years later, a couple years later, he would start doing that figure 4 leg lock using the turnbuckle. Looks sick. Looked really good. Now I remember this part in the matchup when Bret Hart gets a wire and ties up Kevin Nash's leg as he is going to work, getting him ready for the sharpshooter. There was, I've heard in shooter interviews about their 4th encounter, this in your house steel cage match. How there was a meeting where Diesel said Bret Hart refused to take the jackknife finish, even though he was going to go on to win anyways. He refused to make it look like Kevin Nash could beat him with a jackknife. Childish, a bit, but I'm kind of glad Bret Hart did stand his ground a few times, because he was, along with Shawn Michaels, it's hard to pick between them, but he definitely was the joint MVP of the next generation, as Kevin Nash so tied up. Quite clever here. So Batman Forever was also a thing. Now I really remember getting excited for that film, as Bret Hart brings the very unthreatening looking chair into the ring. I remember going to see Batman Forever. It's my first Batman film in the cinema. I don't think it's aged greatly. I think it's a cringe. Some people like it, like really like it. Some of the Batman fans out there, but I cringe when anytime someone puts it above Batman Returns. Like, get out of here. Even as a kid, I was disappointed when I went to see the film. I was excited for the film. I was excited to see Robin and the Riddler, and they hadn't been in a Warner Brothers Batman film until that point, and I wasn't that excited to see Two-Face. I was more excited to see Robin and Riddler, whom I was more used to, from the 60s television series and film. As Kevin Nash is in agony, Bret Hart drops a elbow. But I remember, even back then, I was like, this is not I remember when it first started, I was looking for Michael Keaton's name on the opening titles, and it's like, where's? Because even as a kid, I knew he had played Batman in the first two Warner Brothers Batman films, as Bret Hart just gave an impressive backbreaker to Kevin Nash. Um, so I remember like the red flags were going off that this was not technically the same Batman as Kevin Nash. Punches Bret Hart in the stomach, and Bret Hart lands on his Damien. I wonder how many people will get that reference, as Bret Hart's going to be thrown off from the top turnbuckle. Down he goes. I think I'll upload this bad boy to PMDB videos. PMDB videos, my original channel, needs some love. This is my fourth wrestling banter with PMDB video. The first three were on my now main channel, Paul Michael DB. Check it out. The 992 video is also on my BitChute account, but now Kevin Nash has got the wire around Bret Hart's head. Some parts of this match I really remember, and but it is like watching it again, new again, because I love how Kevin Nash is selling his leg here. He hasn't forgotten. That's a dying art in professional wrestling these days. Wrestlers forget that the moves are supposed to do some damage, and they forget they're not very good at selling much things, and not a lot of the things the wrestlers do makes a lot of sense. Like I just can't understand how fans today think today's product is superior, or today's wrestlers are superior to the likes of Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels and the characters of before, as Bret Hart's rammed into the unprotected turnbuckle. We got a replay of that. On commentary for this show was Mr. Perfect and Vince McMahon. I think it was just them two. I could be wrong. I'm not sure if Jim Ross was the third wheel, but I specifically remember it being commentated by Mr. Perfect. I was happy to see him return at the time, and Vince McMahon, who's actually an underrated commentator. Bret Hart now is lying on the middle rope. The WWF ring design or the colors were of the American flag, the red, white, and blue. Now referred to as the old school WWF ring. As Bret Hart is going to get some snake eyes. I don't think it was called snake eyes then. So what was it going on about? Oh yes, Batman Forever. Now, as you may know, I'm a Rangers fan, and 995 Rangers won 7 in a row, and this is about the time I remember, got some very vivid memories of supporting Rangers and being a big fan of Brian Laudrup. I believe it was season 995-996 that Paul Gascoigne joined Rangers as Bret Hart is hoisted up. Kevin Nash is looking for another snake eyes, but Bret Hart reverses it and bounces Kevin Nash's head into the top turnbuckle. I was a big fan of Andy Gorham. My days during this time would consist of, primary school, then I'd go home, and most days, like every day after school, and probably the weekend as well, was spent playing football. As Bret Hart gives Kevin Nash a big clothesline, goes for the cover. Of course, he's not going to get the pin. Kevin Nash kicks out, but Kevin Nash looks like he's been in a war. Lots of great selling going on here, as Bret Hart's on his favourite big flying bulldog by the Hitman. It's actually a crime rewatching this match again on mute, but you know, I think the audio's best up here. I'm never sure how good the audio is sounding until I rewatch myself. Just love doing that, rewatch myself not. It's one thing I wouldn't miss about creating videos. I hate watching myself all the time. But then again, if I had my own paid editor, like, I bet they would not get the way I want it. Plus, that's cheating. That's Bret Hart. I'm not sure what he was trying to do there. Landed quite awkwardly flying out the ring there. Looked a bit of a botch. And he's down and out. So yeah, a bit of a crime watching on mute, but you know, can't record the audio. That's a no-no. But 995. This is the year they introduced the in your house pay-per-views. The year they introduced one too many pay-per-views. Sort of took away from the pay-per-view feel when there was one a month compared to just 5 a year. This was also the start of quote unquote the Monday Night War. I've never liked the idea that just because two wrestling shows are competing on for ratings that it's here comes the bump into the table, and that was a shocking moment in 1995. That was like, oh my god, that was like a holy shit moment. Look at it, see the crowd's reaction running to the scene. And what I learned recently was that the Spanish announcer actually blew out his knee in that bump, and you know, he obviously didn't know Bret Hart was going to come flying into the table. And you know, rewatching it again, it caught me off guard as well. Even if I knew it was going to happen, it just I haven't watched it in a while, and it just what I love about that bump also. God, now that I know the Spanish announcer is what he's going through, that's horrible. Because I mean, I've had my dislocated my elbow before, but I can't imagine what it'd be like dislocating your knee. That's oh me, he must be in agony. But what I liked about this spot was it wasn't obvious there was going to be a table bump. It just came out of nowhere. It was very well done by Bret Hart and Kevin Nash. It wasn't like what to do, you know, you sort of got to suspend your disbelief even more with some of the tables, ladders, and chairs matches and what have you. The way they set things up, and it's obvious they're, you know, going to use them and where they're going to use them. Whereas here, it was, you know, you'd have never predicted Bret Hart was going to go through a table there. So we're coming up for the end of the match. Diesel's way. He thinks Bret Hart's out. This is another very clever bit of the match. He thinks Bret Hart's done, but Bret Hart's actually pretending to be hurt, and he's about to catch Diesel off guard. He's still pretending here, pretending he is out. I'm not sure if you can call this cheating or not. But it's clever. Very, very clever ending. As you generally do think Bret Hart's out, and perhaps it's time to stop the match as he connects with a small package pin, and 1, 2, 3, we've got a new champion, and Diesel is pissed. Brilliant, 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 brilliant. Right. So Kevin Nash is up and right away turns heel, shoving down El Hebner, picking up Bret Hart, and delivering that jackknife powerbomb. Boom. So we've got a new champion and a new peed off bad guy. This is a time where you didn't see wrestlers attacking referees that often. Hell, the crowd's actually cheering. You can see the crowd clapping for this heel turn. What a great match. Especially if you've not watched it before. It was a great show, and this was a great ending. This was a great cliffhanging ending as Diesel dumps the WWF Championship on a broken Bret Hart. What a great Survivor Series. I think, was this maybe Kevin Nash's last ever Survivor Series because he would go to WCW in a few months' time? I don't think he was ever at Survivor Series again. Even though he rejoined the company like years later, but I don't think he ever made it round to a Survivor Series again. So there you have it. Hope you enjoyed this wee watch along / commentary on whatever pops into my head. And this is where I wrap it up when the match is over, as I've been flapping my gums for long enough. Not sure if we'll what's next in the pipeline for PMDB hashtag 1553 as we get a highlight package of the Survivor Series and the return of X-Pac, return of Mr. Perfect. We've got to show X-Pac there doing the devil sign and a happy Sid. So this is where I'm going to end it here. Perhaps I'll do another commentary on a wrestling match again soon. Maybe it will be next. We shall see. But hope you enjoy. God bless.